Hey everybody, welcome back to another one of our former athlete society accountability call. Now, whether you're here live on YouTube or on the Blueprint, our Instagram broadcast channel, or if you're catching the live replay on adamringler.com, I want to say thank you for showing up. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this video. Showing up, whether that's physically in the gym, mentally at work, or virtually in this call, it's for all of us. It's for all of us former athletes so that we can anchor our day, anchor our performance, anchor our health, and keep us aligned with who we once were and who we still want to be, right? And who we want to become. So now I'll be honest with you. Some weeks it's just me and I'm just talking. You're one-on-one to my camera or to the Blueprint, our once again, our Instagram broadcast channel. You can join, follow me at adamringler.com, at Adam Ringler Instagram handle, and you could jump over there. But sometimes it is one-on-one. Sometimes it's a small group. Sometimes we go live and we get multiple people. But nonetheless, if you're hopping on, I appreciate you. And you know what? That's fine, right? It's perfectly fine because the discipline of holding these sessions for me is what matters. Just like training, sometimes the weight room is packed, sometimes it's quiet, but you still put in the work no matter what. And that consistency is where the real magic happens. So, in this accountability call, we're going to cover once again 5 big topics, and each one ties directly into something relative to your performance, your health, your lifestyle, and what it means to live as a former athlete while continuing to chase growth, health, and discipline in this new phase of life. So, we're going to tackle things like tracking the things that matter, why, focusing on that can change your results, why setting goals that force you to become a new version of yourself is so powerful, and what the science actually says about the best time of the day to focus on hard cognitive tasks. That one you might want to clue in on, and some real world leadership strategies that apply not only to business, but in life. And then finally, I'll put the bow tie in all of this, give us some training talk specific how we can approach making safer choices with squatting while still pushing for strength. Now, this isn't just theory or fluff. These are actual real world in the trenches lessons that I've lived through, that I've applied in my own life and my coaching and the coaching of others. So as you're listening or as you're watching this, I want you to begin to ask yourself this: how can I apply this in my own world? That's going to really matter. So how can I use these concepts, not just as a nod to, like, oh, I'll nod along to you, Adam. No, but actually put them in practice tomorrow morning or even maybe tonight. So that's what this community is all about. That's what the Former Athlete Society is here for. It's not about nostalgia. It's not about the old days or the glory days, but about carrying forward the same level of intentionality we had back then into our health, into our careers, into our relationship, and into today. So let's jump into our first topic. And this one's cool. I like this one: tracking what matters. Now, you've probably heard the phrase, what gets measured gets managed. But here is the hook. Most people say that and actually no, it never lands and nobody actually really does it. So let me explain. If something is important to your life, you need to track it. Simple as that. I know it sounds tedious, it sounds boring, and honestly, sometimes it feels like overkill, but here's the truth. The people who are constantly and consistently tracking the big rocks, their lifts, their macros, their finances, their health metrics, those are the ones who can look back with certainty and know exactly why they're improving. And more importantly, they know why they are slipping. I've been logging every single workout probably for over the last 25 years of my life. And that's not an exaggeration. I write down the modality, the weight, the sets, the reps, pencil and paper, old school style, DC training, Dante Trudel type style. And when I flip back through those notebooks, I can see the exact progression that got me to where I am today. It's a living record of accountability, and it's the single best feedback loop, and it gives you real intelligence and data because a barbell never lies and the logbook also never forgets. And it's not just training. I track my nutrition through tracker. I've talked about that quite a bit on all of my social medias. Every calorie, every macro, whether I'm in a deficit, a maintenance phase, or a surplus, it's all right there. Because how else are you going to know if you're actually hitting your goals? Winging it doesn't work. And whether you're trying to build or cut, those numbers actually matter. And here's the beauty: once it's tracked, the guesswork is gone. You can actually free up mental bandwidth because you know that you're on track. You're making progress towards your goal. It even extends for me into my finances. So for me, the app YNAB, You Need a Budget, was a complete game changer for me in my early 30s. It's a zero-based budgeting app, which means that every single dollar of mine, that income that I earn, has a job before I ever spend it. It took me literally, quite frankly, like when I was in my late 20s, mid 20s, out of living that sort of paycheck to paycheck cycle. And it gave me clarity and honesty where my finances were, right? It gave me that peace of mind. And just like in training, once I started tracking it, I started managing it better. And when I started managing it, I started winning. And one more layer, right? Health metrics. Now, I've been bullish on that Bevel Health app, right? To track everything from my blood work to biometrics, because the older we get, the less margin for error that we have. Ignoring your health data doesn't make you healthier at all, right? You can't run from it. You have to face it head on, even when it's uncomfortable. And it's what allows you to actually make the right adjustments before small problems become big problems. So here's my takeaway. If it matters to you, you have to track it. Don't leave it to memory. Don't leave it to guesswork. And don't rely on vibes. Put it down, write it down. Numbers don't lie, and they don't care about your excuses. So if you're serious about building discipline, carrying forward that athlete mindset, tracking it is the first and most powerful tool in your arsenal. Now, like I said before, this OBS software I use for our YouTube videos, it sometimes gives me an error. I have an error right now. I can't display all of my social medias, and that's going to be okay. I'm not going to delay the show or publishing what I do for the broadcast channel just because of that. So if you've joined me this far, all I'm going to ask you to do, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to our YouTube channel here. I'm trying to grow this so that you have videos that you can go back to and say, I want to apply that lesson because it's going to help me in my life, in my performance, and in my health style. So hit the notification bell, give me a subscribe to this YouTube channel, and like this video. Do me that favor. All right, let's move on to our second topic. If your goals don't scare you, they're not goals, they're chores. So think about it. Most people set goals that are nothing more than slightly upgraded versions of what they're already doing. And that's safe, but it's also really boring, right? Real goals should pull something out of you that isn't there yet. They should demand that you grow into a new version of yourself, not just the old version of yourself with slightly modified aspirations. Now, I've seen this over and over again in athletics. Player who just wants to get stronger will plateau out quickly because the goal isn't specific enough and it certainly isn't demanding enough. But when that same athlete sees a goal like, I want to add 40 pounds to my squat in 12 weeks, oh, suddenly that training has some urgency. Suddenly recovery matters more. Suddenly discipline and your nutrition clicks in place. Why? Because the goal requires it. So for me personally, I like setting what I call identity goals, not just targets on papers, but goals that force me to become someone new in the process. So, for example, if I decided to run my first ultra distance event, listen, I won't, but if I did, I'm not a runner. I'm not a runner at all. But if I did, that goal would demand that I become one. It would demand that my early mornings, my new training methods, more patience with my recovery, and ultimately a new identity. That's what chasing these goals mean. So here's the important part. Goals like this, they aren't about achieving them instantly either, right? They're about creating a roadmap that stretches you, that forces you to fail along the way. You get tested, but that's the point. If it doesn't test you, it won't ever transform you. So my challenge to you is to set goals that feel almost too big, the kind that make your stomach flip a little bit when you say it out loud to a friend or a family member. Write them down, break them out into actionable steps, and then commit to them, knowing that the person that you become in that pursuit of that goal is even more valuable than actually hitting the target itself. Okay. So that said, right, some of you guys are following right now. I'm looking over at you, the Blueprint channel, our broadcast channel over at Instagram. And if you're watching this right now on YouTube or at adamringler.com, my personal website, my hub of all of my information, then you might know, hey, I run a social media account. I'm on X, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on Instagram, and my handle is all the same. It's at Adam Ringler. So I would invite you to just give me a follow, right? I try to share some of the behind the scenes of what we're doing strength and conditioning wise with the teams, the university I work with, and what I do in my personal life. And I want you to be a part of that journey. Let's move on to topic number 3. This one's fun. Your brain has a peak performance window. And if you miss it, you're leaving productivity on the table. And I mean that sincerely. There's an interesting study right now out of Italy that tracked cognitive performance across the day. And what they found is that our brain power follows kind of a bell curve. So think of it like strength training. You got your warm up sets, your peak set, and then a cool down. Same with your mental focus. The morning hours, once you're alert and you're moving, are often when you hit that sharp peak. It doesn't mean that you can't work later in the day, But your hardest, most creative and demanding tasks, yeah, they belong in that peak window. So as a coach, this makes total sense to me. You wouldn't ask an athlete to hit a max squat after a 2.5 hour basketball practice when they're fried. You structure the day so that the heaviest lifts hit when energy is the highest. Your mental work deserves that same respect. So, if you've got writing planned or studying or big decisions to make, schedule those as your PR sets for your personal day. Now, here's where it matters the most for us former athletes. Most of us probably grew up with a rigid schedule, practice, lifts, games, film, etc. And now that schedule and that structure is gone, right? But once that lifestyle ends, right, we have to start filling the day however it flows. And that's the problem. The flow usually means wasted windows. So if you can identify your personal peak and treat it like your practice time, you'll get way more done in those 2 hours than trying to cram it into 6 hours of scattered effort. So instead of beating yourself up, Instagram, Blueprint channel, or YouTube here, right? Instead of beating yourself up for not grinding all day, zoom out and think like a coach for once. Place your high output work in the peak of your bell curve. Save the busy work, the emails, the shallow tasks, the low hanging fruit, those types of things, low demanding effort type things. Right? Save that for later in the day, or certainly super early in the morning, just like you're tapering. Just like in training, the timing of your effort actually really matters. So, that said, whether you're joining me on Instagram, you're joining me on YouTube, right? Some of you guys may want to join our blueprint, our forever free access to adamringler.com. It's where I publish all of our articles. It's where I share the discussion boards. I give you behind the scenes access. You'll get access to our monthly musing newsletters. You'll get first access to all the articles. You'll get our Workaholics newsletter. You'll get our podcast, right? How do you do this? Head over to adamringler.com and just sign up at the top of the page. It's free. If you want to level up, we offer that premium level support. And that is what we call the master plan, right? And join us at the master plan. But if you want to go one step further, the Former Athlete Society is where to join. So head over there. There's a bunch of information about how to join, why to join, what offers you get, what benefits you get. I want you to be a part of it. Now, have you ever noticed how when a new leader walks in, right, whether it's a new boss, a new leader, a new coach, whatever it might be, the room goes quiet? That silence is telling. And if you're stepping into a leadership role in athletics or business or even life, those first weeks will either earn you trust or cost you everything. So there's some few steps that I recommend for new coaches coming into new roles, whether it's leadership, executive, or coaches. The first step is super simple, but often skipped. You need to meet your team. And I don't mean just shaking hands in a big group or anything like that. I mean real conversations. Walk into their space, ask some questions, learn who they are. In athletics, I've seen head coaches miss the step all the time. They charge in with orders and suddenly the staff stops giving them real feedback. Right? Meeting people is how you send the message that I see you, I value you, and I want to learn before I lead. Next, you have to listen. You have to actually really listen to your people. And I don't mean nodding when planning your next response and thinking about what you're going to say. I mean curiosity driven questions like what's working, what's broken, and then be quiet. Let your people talk, right? When you listen long enough, you learn where the bottlenecks are and who's actually carrying the weight. And that information is priceless. And it only comes if people feel safe opening up. So, quick wins is probably the next thing. After that, you have to prove that you can act. But don't overhaul everything right away. Instead, find a few quick wins, right? Those will gain some momentum and that makes daily life a little bit better. Maybe it's fixing a broken schedule, clearing up communication, or adding a simple tool to your workflow, whatever it might be. In athletics, I've seen coaches earn instant buy in just by making small, smart changes. Those early wins buy you credibility for bigger changes later in time. And here's maybe the tough part: resist the urge to clean house. New leaders often fire half the staff and it creates complete chaos. We see it on coaching staffs all the time. Instead, think transitions. Sometimes the right person is just in the wrong role. So shift, realign, and when necessary, make changes respectfully. How you handle people in those moments set the tone for everything else because your team is watching and respect travels really fast. So if you're walking into a new coaching position, into a leadership position, into an executive position, remember this playbook. Meet your team. Listen first. Stack a couple small wins and transition smartly instead of burning everything down. Now, it's not flashy, but neither is leadership, right? It's about trust. And if you're a former athlete, you already know the rhythm, right? Observe, adjust, build. That's how you win transitions. Okay. If you've joined me this far, you're watching us live on the YouTube broadcast here in the Blueprint. Welcome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys more than you know. If you're watching our YouTube, hit the like button. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. And then lastly, hit the notification bell so you get first access to when we're dropping videos, because we drop videos all of the time. Last topic for today's accountability call. Everybody swears by the back squat. It's the holy grail for strength coaches. But here's the truth. I don't back squat anymore. And honestly, I probably never will again. And let me explain why. No, I'm not Mike Boyle. I don't pretend to be one. But after years of training and coaching, I've seen what happens when people force themselves into movements that don't fit their body anymore. Now, for me, I'm not saying the back squat doesn't fit my body. I could certainly back squat. I don't know, maybe 405. Good day, maybe. Pretty strong at this rate. It's not that it doesn't work, it does. But for me, as a nearly 40-year-old at this point, the risk to reward ratio just doesn't add up when you factor in longevity. That's for me. Your boy's almost 40. Now, if you're 18, you probably need to back squat, right? So instead, I've shifted to the safety bar squat, and specifically the transformer bar through Kabuki Strength, RIP, those guys. Those tools let me load my legs heavy. They challenge my body, and I still get the same intensity, but without cranking on my low back or shoulders. Now, I pair that with the rack Hatfield handles, and I can create stability safely without ever grinding through pain. And for me to continue to train the way that I like to train, which is aggressive, right? I want to keep training for decades, right? Not just the next 6 months or 3 months or until a back injury or something like that. So I have to train smart. And that safer alternative keeps me in the game. My training should build me up rep by rep, not take me out. So longevity in training is really what matters for me. I look at it this way. The best training program for me is the one that I can actually stick with long term. So if every squat session leaves you beat up and limping and low back hurt and your hamstrings are on fire, how long can you really last? That's not toughness, that's short-sightedness at best. So the safety bar squat is my way of saying, I still want to go heavy. I still want to push myself. I still want to squat, but I want to walk out of the gym ready to come back tomorrow. That's what keeps the gains stacking over time, over years, over weeks, over months, not just the days of training. So let's put a bow tie on all of this presentation, all of this accountability call, and put it and come back full circle, right? We talked about tracking what matters on this, right? With the YNAB and the macro factor and the logbook, right? We talked about setting goals so big that they force you to become somebody that you're not comfortable with being right now, right? How you need to schedule your hardest mental work at the right time, right? To leverage your acuity and your cognitive focus. And then certainly stepping into leadership with trust and patience. And finally, maybe training smarter with safer squat variations. Now, each one of these topics ties back to the same theme. It's about accountability to yourself, to your habits, to your goals, and to the people that are actually counting on you. Now, former athletes, we know what that accountability feels like in a locker room. Now it's our job to carry that same standard into everyday life. So if you're watching this and you're nodding along and you're in the blueprint and you're like, yes, coach, yes, Adam, this is exactly what we're building inside the Former Athlete Society. This is a community where you don't just drift into mediocrity after your playing days. No, you keep pushing, you keep training, you keep leveling up. So here's my challenge. Don't just watch these videos. Actually become part of it. Own some of it. Join us. Commit to the accountability again. Because the best version of yourself, it's not behind you. It's right here. It's right now. Right? And I want you to be part of it. So if this sounds interesting to you, I want you right now to head over to adamringler.com and join us in the Former Athlete Society. It's at the top of the page. Join us there and become part of our membership. So you get access to the private videos, access to the one-on-one calls. You get your questions answered by me privately, not only in our YouTube videos, but elsewhere. And join us to level up to become the best version of yourself. If that sounds like something you want, head over to adamringler.com. Join us in the Former Athlete Society. I cannot wait to see you there. And as you know, we have another Q&A call coming up later this week. So you submit your questions and I will answer those live on our call. I appreciate you. Stay strong, keep training, and we'll get after it on the next video.